Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are back on the dev server, and I thought what we'd do is have a look at the new camos which are coming into the game, and also some of the other changes that I feel like need a little bit more kind of description and explanation. So this video, we'll have a look at those, and also the camos. We'll get started with those right now. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and also like the video. Let's get into it. So pretty much a lot of the new aircraft ended up getting new camos, starting off with all of the Hornets for the British tech tree. One of the things that they've tried to do with the Hornets is try and give them something slightly different to obviously make them at least appeal a bit differently to different people, not just from different tech trees, but also different camouflages. So the FA-18 for the Australians has the Cobra camouflage. This is the earlier variant, and then the late variant, the Australian Hornet, has a bunch of them. You have the anniversary camouflage, which is really nice. A lot of these can actually be ground out as well, which is kind of cool. You got the 33 years Hornet, so another kind of like anniversary camouflage, which is really cool. You also have access to the 100th anniversary camouflage of, I'm guessing, the Australian Air Force, and this one is just incredibly bright, which is nice to see. I kind of believe that this is a camo which is actually a realistic one because of how bright the orange is, but it looks absolutely stunning. And then also the Magpie camouflage is coming in as well for the Australian. So the Australian Hornet, especially the late, is getting a lot of really cool ones, and that should be celebrated. It's lovely to see that they're continuing the trend. The CF-188 is also getting a camo. This is the 425th Squadron Anniversary camouflage. Just remember, this one does also have a pre-order camouflage, and if you want to get any of the pre-orders, then of course I'll leave links in the description. You can see here it has the maple leaf, and then also all of the Canada stuff, so always really nice to see, even down to this little boy right here, and also the French and the English, showing how Canada do things. If you didn't know, when it comes to Canada, the products that you buy, half of them, or half of the product kind of description is in English, and half of it is in French, which is interesting to see, just because of obviously the different areas of Canada and what languages they speak. But there is only one technically bilingual or multilingual province in Canada, and that is New Brunswick. Thought I'd let you know that. Bit of trivia. And I mean by like legally multilingual. So we have the B-66B. This one also has a camouflage. It's a little bit harder to show because of the bombs, but it's the 84th BS camouflage, which I think is great. You got the T, you got this as well, and then also you have this insignia on the front, which is a boy, well, looks like a devil holding a bomb, which is kind of fun, and then also one on the other side too. So just nice to see that. Other vehicles are also getting camos, like the F5TH. I think this thing may need 1 million camos to try and get people to play it, since it's going to be in a bit of a rough place, but they did at least lower its BR. It has a 40th anniversary camo, where they once again have painted the tail of it, and then I'm guessing added a few little pieces here and there in terms of inscriptions, but generally just nice to see that too. The BF-109T, another odd premium when it comes to this update, also has a cool camouflage. You have the 3rd JG77 camouflage, which is coming into it, and it has that interesting like camo pattern that you see on a lot of kind of World War II German aircraft. And then also it has this kind of red flame coming out of the engine, showing how some of the BF-109s, especially this engine, like to overheat and explode. So that's obviously cool to see. The new squadron vehicle for the French also gets a new camo, the F-16 AOCU. It gets another anniversary camouflage. You can see a theme happening, but this one is really cool. And they do actually have a little inscription of what the camouflages are. So this is the 75th anniversary of the 2nd Squadron RAF. And you can see here the 2nd Squadron, the 75th, and then just a beautiful color scheme. Dark blue, red, and also yellow. Looks very Soviet, if I'm honest, but also looks very, very nice on the vehicle itself. The Sufa is also getting a camouflage, another vehicle that needs as much help as possible. We have the Bat Squadron, which is coming in for it. So that's also an addition. You can see the difference between them is not huge, but it's basically once again mainly the tail, where now it has a bat on it instead of what the standard camouflage has, which I don't even know what that is, an eagle or something probably. But yeah, it's bat attack, your bat attacking time. So you need 750 points in order to grind out this camo, which doesn't seem too bad. The Qing-6 is also getting a camo, and you can see it has that beautiful blue camo, but it's also getting a white camouflage of the PLA. So if you don't like being bright blue in the air, instead you can be bright white and stick out like a sore thumb, which would be not exactly the best idea. The Spitfire Mark 1A got its camo, by the way, but that is one which is already in the game. If you didn't know, for the holidays, there is a Battle of Britain Day going on, and there's the P9443 camouflage for the Spitfire. This is for the Mark 1A. You need to 10,000 mission score in order to kind of grind it out. And generally, I think it looks quite nice. The big difference between this and other ones is it has kind of like the pre-war camo. So it has like the half black wing and half white wing. This was so it's easy to detect it from the ground. But they obviously changed this because of the fact that it was very easy to spot it in the air. And therefore you could attack it if you were an enemy combatant. I also like this camo because if you look at this, it looks like it says Dozo, which is a great insignia. Obviously it doesn't mean that, but I think it's just kind of funny. One of the vehicles that is being added, or one of the vehicles that is getting camos, which isn't a new vehicle surprisingly, is the Su-30SM. This one is getting a Air Force Kazakhstan camouflage, which looks really nice, very standard. And then also it's getting a Russian Knights camouflage, which is a demonstration camo with very much the Russian colors, red, white, and blue. And then also this, which looks really nice. And then you can see all of the different countries that are kind of put here. I don't know what these countries actually kind of signify. There's a bunch of different ones. No idea. Maybe this is the places where the demonstration guys have been. There's a lot of European stuff here, and even like the Canada as well, which just seems a bit weird. Not really sure what's going on there. But yeah, so a nice demonstration camouflage for the Su-30SM and the standard Kazakhstani one. They've also taken an effort to add some camos to helicopters. So you have the standard one, then the digital camouflage for the Mi-35P. Looks nice, you know, it's always nice to get helicopter camos since they usually don't turn up in the boxes. The other Mi-35 that's new to the game for the Japanese also gets a camo. It's just a standard unicolor one. So you can either have the standard green or you can have the crisscross bicolor. And of course, the H-64E is getting one too. So you have the standard kind of iconic camo for the H-64E. And then also you have access to the bicolor desert camo, which is coming in too. This is specifically the Qatar Emery Air Force camo. So not just for America, but also for Qatar. And maybe in the future, we'll actually see that vehicle in the game as a squadron vehicle or something else. The NF.Mk.II for Britain also gets a camo. And this one is pretty cool. So you have the standard night fighter camo, since this is a night fighter. But if you don't want the night fighter, you can actually just make it into a standard camo. This is the bicolor camo, meaning, you know, just the standard kind of RAF colors during the Second World War. The gray and green, which looks really cool. So it still has the black under carriage since it is a night fighter. But yeah, I think this one looks pretty awesome. So that's all the camos, which they have added in. Now let's talk about some of the other changes. They've done some things to Naval. First of all, you know, you have the hey, yeah. So what they've done with this is there's added a new shell for the 356mm guns. Before you had the APC-BC, and now you have another APC-BC. This is the number 5, which is coming in, and you can see the difference is about 60mm worth of penetration, but you also lose about half the explosive mass. So it's just another round, which is very, very good at penetrating, but not exactly great at doing damage. So you will have to get a little bit lucky in terms of doing good hits. But obviously, having more penetration, especially against some of the battleships, is going to be quite good for the vehicle. There's also a few differences they brought in. So, for example, the Charles F. Adams it is now harder to sink the vehicle. Basically, before you only needed, I think it was like 8,000 tons to be able to sink it. Now you need 12,500 tons of good old water. So that shouldn't be too bad. Another thing they're also changing is, you know how they brought in the idea you can fire primaries and secondaries at the same time? Well, they've done it as a quick switch now through control, which is really cool. But what they're doing is they're actually nerfing some of the vehicles that are really, really good in terms of this. So the Wilkinson, the Mitchsa, which is like the standard tech tree Wilkinson, and then also the Tiger for the British, they're removing the ability to fire your guns together. So basically, you cannot fire the 3 inches alongside the 5-inch guns, and you'll have to fire them separately, probably because of the fact that they're ridiculous and do a ton of damage to different things. But that is something that they're changing. They've also changed a few other things in terms of like some of the new vehicles. So, for example, one of the more interesting changes that, you usually don't think about during these types of dev servers. So they've actually made the render distance of the crew on the Tsugaru further. So you'll be able to see them further away. And then also they've completely kind of remodeled how this thing is going to float and also how it's going to move. So just to kind of let you know, that's how they're doing it. The max reverse speed is also increased only by 1 kilometer an hour, but it is something. They've also done the same thing with the Intrepid, by the way. So this vehicle as well has had a lot of its kind of mobility changed and how it's going to fly. Now, this thing, don't think it's going to be very good, but it's there. At least in general, people will enjoy it. Another thing they've also changed is with the KGGBs, which are, if I remember where they are, I believe they're on this F-16A. It's the Korean bomb, yes. So the KGGB that you see right here, what they have done with it is they have changed a lot of its factors. So first of all, they've changed its mass. It's now 316 kilos. They've made it longer. They've also given a longer guidance duration. Before it was 400 seconds. Now it's 700. They've also given it roll stabilization, and also the PRD values have been adjusted too. So now these are pretty much ready to go, and really not too surprising. Now, some of the more interesting changes are actually coming to missiles. So I don't know if you noticed on kind of like the other dev servers that we did, the smoke trails for a lot of these missiles now are very, very aggressive. I think is probably the word I would use. Like they pop out really nicely, but at the same time, it's really obvious that the missiles are coming in. Now, this is going to help a lot of people track where the missiles are going and where they're coming from and all of that good stuff, right? But it also means that as a person, it's going to be a little bit harder to kind of see what's going on. So, for example, with this vehicle, if you have like the Derby, if you're able to fire it, you can see that it actually has this really, really aggressive kind of smoke, right? So you can kind of see this coming from a mile away as it comes in. This is very similar to what they did with the KH-38MT on the vehicle itself. So even all the way through there, you'll be able to see it kind of guided in. Now, what they did is they made a lot of like high-tier vehicles in ground also have this. So for example, if you have a look at the book, which is the new... by the way, they have changed the name of this thing. So it's the 9K317M Book M3 TADS, and then obviously you have the other launcher. Another name they've changed is the Tiger 2. So this is now the NR1-50. So I'm guessing that's more of a standard name for it. But if you have a look at the missiles on the book, for example, what you'll see is it has a massive amount of smoke that comes out of it. And this basically means that it's really kind of easy to see where the missile is coming from. So if you are like an aircraft, you can see it coming from miles away, right? And what they've done is with other vehicles, they have actually massively reduced the smoke that's coming from them. And this is basically all like IR missiles and also smaller missiles from AAs. So the Elder, for example, this obviously is a newer vehicle with the RBS-98, but it's an IR missile and it's a little bit smaller than some of the big ones. And this has happened with the Tansam, the Florakrad, you know, the Ito, all of these things. But what you'll find with them is the fact that the smoke trails are very much reduced, if not pretty much gone. So it's going to be so much harder to track these missiles if you're in a plane. So that's quite a large buff, in my opinion, to a lot of these kind of smaller missiled AAs, where it'll be very, very hard to see the missiles coming in. Very similar to the difference between stuff like the AIM-9M, for example, and also the AIM-9A. So yeah, that's something that's kind of fun. Another thing to also talk about with the Elder right here. So there was a big problem with this vehicle when it first came out. So it came out last update. The big problem with it was pretty simple. The back of it basically just acted as a added weight. Because Gaijin didn't have anything modeled that could give power to trailers or power to different systems. So now what they're doing is they've actually added a new kind of mechanic to this vehicle, which may actually kind of revolutionize the way that steering works for War Thunder in the future. So what they're testing on this and what they're adding to it in this update, and you'll actually see its maneuverability is a lot better, especially when you go up hills with this thing, is they're adding double differential steering that was implemented on this thing. So that means that it'll move around and be able to climb stuff a lot better, because there won't just be power in the front area, there is also power in the back. And you can see here, climbing this hill, I'm able to do it with absolutely no issue, where before you would basically get stuck because you had just the dead weight previously. So this doesn't just revolutionize the Eldon that you can see here, it actually also revolutionizes, or may revolutionize, a lot of other vehicles in the future if they decide to give this kind of like power to different vehicles, because this could easily be the first step towards what would be classed as well, more like regenerative steering for MBTs and also other things. So I think generally it's actually pretty cool that they're adding that in for this vehicle. And as I said, this is just a test to make sure that this vehicle actually works properly, but then also at the same time, so they can add it for the things. So really cool to see that. Last change, the Fire Snake, which is a new missile coming in. I love saying its name. Imagine being called the Fire Snake. But the Fire Snake, which is a new rocket, or sorry, missile rocket, or whatever you want to call it, that's coming in for the Chinese. They've actually changed the guidance on this thing. So you can see here, it actually has GNSS guidance, which is kind of wild for a missile from a helicopter. I don't know if there's actually another vehicle that has access to GNS-guided missiles from a helicopter. So basically what that means... Oh, sorry, we definitely went a little bit too high with this one. Basically what this means is you can like fire them in, and then technically they should just like follow where you basically like do this. And that means that you don't have to lock, you don't have to do anything silly like that. You literally just have to point and click, and then you'll be able to do this. So don't have to IR lock or anything, just need to literally fire them and pop and go. Like, isn't that kind of crazy how that works? We're a bit over the target now, so they can't like readjust, but you get the idea, right? So you can straight up just go bang, 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 and then just leave the battlefield. You don't have to lock anything, but at the same time, since it is a GNSS lock, it won't track targets. So what that means is it will only land where you've actually directed it to go. You just don't have to direct it there. So there is positives, there is negatives to this, and also with the Z10ME, which the Fire Snake is available on, you obviously have access to the new Fire and Forget CM502s, which are going to be a lot better than the GNSS ones. But I just thought it was interesting that they've done that, especially with the way that these are going to work. These are obviously a lot better, so you're probably not going to see it in the game, but maybe the Fire Snake gets added to other vehicles and moved around. That's all the changes. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecovo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.